Today, I've decided I'm going to be upgrading the brand new August Juggernaut. In fact, I've actually already made a few upgrades to the model itself in terms of what I wanted to see from the set, but I would be mistaken if we didn't tackle the price first. This set right here, alongside its really cool Novacore Troopers, is worth £140 at the recommended retail price. That being said, it's already £20 off in a few different stores, and Germany is getting the best deal of them all, with sets being like a third off day one. Shout out to Smith stores in Germany. But I can't help but notice that with my other sets on display, because this is now the third August set we've built the Juggernaut, then we built the Battle Pack, and we've now built the Snowspeeder. Stay tuned, Saturday we'll be building the Slave one. It's not really adding up to its price. We've already taken a look at how much this was worth before it came out, and we could basically part it out for 80 quid. Literally the only parts we were missing were the 2 slopes on the back here, and then the 10 blue 6x6, which it'll only cost you a couple pence to get in grey. But I thought before we finish upgrading the Juggernaut, let's take a look at it compared to other sets around the same price. Taking a look at all these August sets on their display, first off, shout out to all the channel members. Thank you so much for your support, and I hope you enjoyed today's Members Monday. I know it's not quite Monday, but at least you've got one for this week. We can see these 2 Snowspeeders here. One of them is the Force Burner. The other one is modified with a custom cockpit. Check out the stream to, well, I don't show you how I build it, but it's a pretty cool cockpit nonetheless. And these are each worth a third of what the Juggernaut costs on its recommended retail price. You know, on a sale, these will probably cost still about a third, because I expect these to go down by about a third in price, and the same for the Juggernaut. Hopefully sub £100, here we come. But would I rather have 3 of the Snowspeeders or the Juggernaut? I think we all know which one I'm going for. 2 of these almost looks like it could be enough, but those wheels at the bottom of the Juggernaut are definitely pulling quite a bit of price. As for the Battle Pack, which we've recolored to be 501st on the side there, that's looking more like 4 of those to be the Juggernaut. Yeah, that definitely seems a bit more overpriced than the Battle Pack. I think I'm actually going to go with the Juggernaut on this one. But right next to the Juggernaut, we have the Star Destroyer, which is a fairly new set, and this one costs a little under what the Juggernaut will set you back. And look at the size of the Juggernaut, even with its height, compared to the size of the Star Destroyer. I think this is an easy win for the Star Destroyer here. It's worth so much more, comes with a few more minifigures, especially if LEGO aren't counting the droid minifigures. And even the interior is a bit more than the Juggernaut. Okay, the Juggernaut's got some really big wings, but there's a lot more wedges, plates, and quite a few of them do go into the underneath. Plus we have this bulky top half here, which could have been thinned, but is definitely eating up quite a bit of the part count. I've also modified mine. There's a few more plates on the front here. I think we get 2 3x6s. There's a 2x3, but I've removed it to smooth it off and gotten rid of a lot of the ingots on the outside. So it might look a bit different to yours, but still with all those pieces modified and removed, I'm taking the Star Destroyer over the Juggernaut. Moving along, we've got our Eaters, same boat as the Snowspeeders, and the Deltas are kind of like the Battle Pack, but you know what? I might take the Deltas over the Juggernaut. How many did I say? Like 4 of these, maybe 5. Definitely going to go with a whole fleet of those. We even have a UCS Jango Fett Starship / Slave One / whatever you want to call it, which is not far off double the price of the Juggernaut. Here's the Juggernaut, and without moving back, here's the UCS Slave One. I mean, the Juggernaut is kind of like this nose portion if we gave it 10 wheels and flipped it on its side. But then you've got the rest of the Slave One. No-brainer, UCS sets are definitely worth their money. You could not get anything like this in no matter how many playsets you bundled up. Even the helmets. We have the Stormtrooper helmet here, and we have the Captain Rex Clone Trooper helmet here. Both of these are the price of the Juggernaut. I think the Juggernaut should have been priced a bit more like R2, maybe around that £90 mark. That does seem fair. Get rid of a few of the Novacore Troopers and give us a Battle Pack. In fact, Bakara and Kieri-Mundi are really all you need to include for 90 quid. Give us a few more droids, maybe whack some B2s in there as well as the B1s, and then £90 is a much, much fairer price. Do we have any other sets? We have the other Slave one. This is the Slave one at that Juggernaut price, just back here, recolored for Django Fett. I think that's not far off the Juggernaut, but that did come out in 2019 and had a few extra bonus minifigures for the anniversary of LEGO Star Wars. So I still think I'd pick up that set. The Juggernaut doesn't seem to be pulling its weight compared to the rest of the LEGO Star Wars sets that have come out recently. Feel free to let me know if you think differently in the comments. I thought it'd be really unfair to compare the Dark Falcon to the Juggernaut, but just so you know, I'm picking the Dark Falcon any day. Now it's August, we can finally take a look at our Juggernaut we built without instructions, purely based on the images we got on the box, and see just how close we were to building the real deal. There is a 1 plate gap in the visor here, and a few of the issues I've seen is that this one doesn't line up, which actually it does on mine. It does line up pretty nicely on my turbo tank here. Clearly I built that one wrong. We should put this 1x6 back. This whole thing just pops straight off. We've got the whole roof being held up by 2 binoculars. That's not how LEGO do it. Is there a 2 1x1 grey bricks. That's cool, we can just swap them around. There's another brick that we didn't use that LEGO have used to secure in this side. Again, was it necessary? Maybe, because I did take it off quite easily. Everything from here forward, basically the bit I'm showing you, is built correctly. Oh, and this is where the slopes come in. Now the slopes make sense, but everything this back end seems to be built a little different to LEGO, and that's where we were missing the pieces. And how, if I can show you, it's falling apart. The thing is, I forgot about the wheels as well. All right, where did that 2x3 go? And snack, I forgot I had this here. And then they just clip in. Ah, this piece that keeps jumping off has these undertiles. But there we go, the official LEGO Juggernaut. I must say, I am very surprised we got as close as we did, and now the back is fixed. Let's see what we can improve. Where did my list go? Oh no, but there we go. I've got a list. So the first upgrade is what I've been using all stream, and that is calling this thing a turbo tank, not a Juggernaut. Juggernaut is a UCS set, and if LEGO do want to go with known ships, the Juggernaut barely features in the backgrounds of some of the shots. It's mostly the turbo tank we see. The other thing I wanted to do is see if this hatch at the front could open. We have quite a bit on the set that does indeed open, and I want to see if we can get this hatch. At the minute, the whole plate opens up. Pretty cool, but what if we could get the hatch to open up as well? This is what we've got underneath. A few different plates and underslopes that feel free to copy. Can we open the hatch without it falling off? Perfect. And we don't get the full 4x4 circle because we've needed a bridge to attach it. We only get a 3x4, which is enough for a minifigure plate, and more importantly, enough to peer through to our driver on the inside. Really did answer a lot of them with the actual building of the set. I'm looking down my list, and a lot of it is to do with those 2 columns in the middle. Could have built it minifigure scale. It's a quick upgrade. We can add a ton more seats as well in it. I made note of that because they are quite sparing with their seats. Everywhere there's a seat, you could probably add another clone in the middle, but even in the very, very middle, you can add a few more seats. What did I say? 12, 13, 14. It sucks that the back bit doesn't open too far. We can definitely get a second seat in there. It feels like popping this off. You've got the little Easter egg in there for the little clone rack. And with this attached, there we go, we've done it. All of the improvements so far have related to the actual Juggernaut set, but I think the minifigures also could be improved, more so switched out, because the minifigures we get are for Order 66 on my Gito. And I don't think this turbo tank, looking at it, really reminds me of that scene all too much. In fact, I'm not sure there's a turbo tank in the entire movie. Where we do see a turbo tank is Kashyyyk, or a Juggernaut. Juggernaut, the older sibling of the turbo tank, which is what this is meant to be. Sizes up more like a turbo tank, if you ask me. It's known for basically one thing and one thing alone, that being the home of the Wookiees. For quite some time I've looked at the Chewbacca minifigure and thought it could do with some improving. I don't think there's particularly anything wrong with the mold Lego have used because it's the one that they always have, so at least they're consistent. But Wookiee minifigures definitely need arm printing going forward, especially if Vader and Mando do, and I'm pretty sure we've seen more Chewbacca's than either of them. So today I've brought you here because I've actually still 3D printing the final parts that we need, but I've got the perfect upgrade to the Wookiee minifigure that I would love for Lego to roll out. Let's take a look. You'll have to forgive the unorganized mess in the background as I'm still trying to part out a ton of old sets, but here we have our almost battle pack of Wookiee minifigures. You probably recognize Chewie from his, I want to say bandolier. I'm not really sure exactly what that's called, but Chewie does have the strap that goes not only on the front of the figure, but also loops around to the back with some really nice arm printing. I cannot tell you how much I love that arm printing on a Wookiee minifigure. It needs to be included with the official Lego version. And I've also removed that strap. Members will get the behind the scenes on how I create some of these torsos, like this plain Wookiee here, which has the strap removed front and back. And I don't think you can really notice it on the back on camera. You can't really see any of the details that we've added, but in person it shows through just a little clearer. And we've also got these two Wookiees on the side here, one of which is not Captain, it's Tarful. It's the Wookiee Chieftain, I think his title is. Tarful on the left with the flipped Lego armor piece to represent those shoulder pads, and then as requested by this comment on screen, we have Captain Meru Meru, who's the Wookiee that leads the charge in Revenge of the Sith. Compared to the regular Chewbacca or Wookiee minifigure, these stand a little bit taller, and that's because I have snipped the top part of the head off of Lego's official mold and used it as some sort of cap for the headpiece, which would probably sit around a lot better, kind of like the way Mouldie has that extended head. And then I've gone with the extra long legs used for Woody in Toy Story, and also for the Avatar minifigures. Surprised Lego haven't continued them over into the Wookiees, even with their current head mold, because I mean the Wookiees are only as tall as some minifigures with their thick hair pieces or some of the hats that we're getting nowadays in Lego sets. So Wookiees definitely need that long leg treatment, but I would also like to see some of their torsos because it makes it easier to customize. Not only can you take that custom Santa hat we made last year and place it still over the top of these minifigures, though you could probably also just get a stud in there and place it on top of the hats. A lot easier, but like I said, I flipped one of the armor pieces for Tarful here. That one's quite an easy modification to do, but Meru Meru has a unique hat which is made using that helmet that we see for General Veers, with a plume going all the way along the top so that it adds up to the similar shape we see in Revenge of the Sith. I didn't realize that whole shot was out of focus, so here's a better look at the plume going around the helmet, and this is the same one used for those Imperial, I guess, generals? And a better shot at those longer legs with the same Wookiee printing that we'll see on Chewbacca nowadays. I also didn't show off the back of the Captain and Chieftain torso, so there you go. And as always, let me know if you'd be willing to buy these, and I might consider adding them to my shop. But it's not just the Wookiees that were on Kashyyyk, but Grandmaster Yoda as well, so what can we do about that minifigure? Well, I've made a few custom Yodas over the last couple of years, and one thing that I always complain about is the fact that Yoda is so tall and the legs and torso I just don't think work. Well, more to the point, I think there's a better element that Lego have used before, and it's the element they use for Maggie from The Simpsons. The biggest problem with using this part for Yoda is the fact that Lego have used the torso and legs for so long. I think most of you probably aren't going to like this just because it's change, and you know, usually with Lego, change isn't always a good thing. But if we compare this to the regular Yoda minifigure, you can see that it's a little bit shorter. I mean, we're not getting accurate Yoda heights unless we're actually using the Grogu minifigure, which is the minifigure scale for Yoda. But it also shortens the width of the minifigure. It's hard to point it out, but you can see this Yoda is just over 3 studs wide. That one's just over 2. Comparing it to my desk mat, which you can pick up on my website, that does have Lego studs all over it, which are built to system, I'd say it's not even 2.5 studs. This is like 1 1/3. And it's those proportions that I just prefer to the way Lego are currently doing some of their minifigures. Excluding the tops of the heads on the Wookiee minifigures, these are all elements that exist in Lego's arsenal, and they could definitely be using in the next Lego set they release with Wookiees, especially if it's a battle pack. But I am honestly convinced the reason Lego will never do anything like this is because it's too much of a drastic change from the minifigures we're currently working with. Although, seeing all those Chewbacca heads in a row is definitely quite frightening. Let me know if this is a change you'd be welcoming in the comments. Adding our 5 minifigures to the turbo tank, honestly, I don't think this needs to come with really any clone troopers. Maybe we can whack a Gree and a Jek with it, as they are the 2 clones that try to execute Order 66 on the Jedi Grand Master. But personally, much like with the Nova Corps minifigures, I'd prefer a battle pack. It makes so much sense to get Jedi and clone commanders in bigger sets, like with the MTT and Aayla Secura and Bly. But I think clone troopers should be kept to battle packs or smaller sorts of army builders. Maybe get the occasional one in a larger set, like we saw the 501st in 2020, and Windu coming with 3 of his troopers because, well, the Legion wasn't quite popular enough to get 2 sets, but even then, getting some more droids in that fighter tank, the Republic fighter tank, and getting a battle pack of those Windu troopers, I have to admit, would be pretty cool. So I'm still going to be holding out hope for a Nova Corps battle pack. Let me know what you think of this entire set. If it was themed on Kashyyyk for Order 66, what else would you add? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and may the Brooks be with you always.